This is the Wild and Fearless podcast. Join Bec Fox, renowned business leader, coach, and avid adventurer, and go inside the hearts and minds of ordinary women doing extraordinary things. Wild and Fearless, women inspiring legendary dreams.
Hey legends, welcome to another Wild and Fearless podcast. It's an absolute honour today. We have the legendary Penelope Gilbert-Ng, who's a world-known and very, very famous artist, and she's well known nationally and internationally as a judge, as well as an art exhibitor in pastels and watercolours. So enjoy, sit back and unwind with Penelope. Pen, it is absolute delight to have you here at our Wild and Fearless campaign and our podcast and our project. For those who don't know Penelope Gilbert-Ng, she's an internationally renowned and very nationally loved and renowned artist, and she specialises in watercolour and also pastel art pieces. Pen, who you like to be preferred to be called, and it's so good because it's less of a mouthful. Welcome and thank you again for coming on our Wild and Fearless podcast.
Thanks, Bec, for having me.
Privileged. It is. It's so lovely having you here. And for those who don't know, Penelope does an enormous amount of art, particularly in portraits and also in landscape. And that's what we really want to talk to her about today, is her dream that she had as a child of being an artist, and how she's followed her dream and how she now inspires many others through her incredible talents of actually going to her shows and galleries, but also her beautiful and exquisite workshops that she does and conducts all around Australia and Asia, Oceanic Asia, I guess. Pen, would that be right?
More over, it was America and in the Greek Isles.
Yeah,
yes.
There you go. See, international. Now, we're going to have a laugh, because I said to Pen, are you nationally renowned and internationally? She said, oh, no, not internationally. Then her daughter, who's in the back of the room, actually said, well, Mum, how about Papua New Guinea? So, there's a lot of art out there. And you then said, oh, yes, that's right. I did do the portrait of the Assistant Chief Commissioner.
No, it was the Chief Minister.
Chief Minister, yep.
He became Prime Minister in Independence.
Yep, there you go.
Michael Samari.
Yep, so very internationally renowned.
Yeah.
So as you know, this podcast is all about inspiring women of all ages, people who identify as non-binary, and also young girls, and to really pick them up and give them some inspirational messages and actually take them on your journey and your story of your life. And you are invited here because your story is exemplary. You are an ordinary woman who's followed her dream all her life in art, and that's what we really want to discuss with you today.
Yes. I never considered myself as anything just than ordinary, really.
Yeah,
but,
really.
I have done some extraordinary things, I guess.
Yeah, you sure have. And so how do you think these things happen? Like, when did your first spark and love and passion of art begin, Pen?
Probably at the age of 3, basically. Wow. My mother was an artist, so that was kind of probably just watching her, maybe. I don't know. But I had no doubt I wanted to be an artist.
Yeah.
And I had the encouragement from my family, and I still do. Yeah. My family's great.
Oh, isn't it wonderful? Yeah, and no doubt your children are absolutely encouraged and inspired by what you do every day, because you are living the dream, and the dream is doing your art, and you do nothing else but just paint and teach.
And teach.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I think it'd be terrible to go to your grave if you haven't shared what you've learnt. That's kind of criminal in a sense, to me.
Yeah.
If you can help somebody else with lessening their journey, I think it's good.
Well, that's how we met. I was out at Candillon managing that outdoor ed centre, and you came out and said, I'd love to paint some beautiful pastels of the natural environment. And the way you captured it on the brush was just extraordinary, and you made it look so effortless. And of course it wasn't. It was after decades and decades with that brush and becoming an artist. And what you produced, and then of course leading an art camp there, was just extraordinary. And women and men who came to that camp were so inspired, and it was then I truly appreciated how recognised you are as an artist, and have been following you ever since. That was some decades ago now.
Quite a while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Lovely location for painting.
Yeah. Where else have you loved and enjoyed painting locations?
Papua New Guinea. That was an amazing country to paint. And the people. Most of Australia. I haven't been to Central Australia yet. I've got to get to Central Australia. That's my next dream.
On the bucket list?
On the bucket list. You've got to have the bucket list, because I've travelled a bit overseas, so you leave that other part till you get older. Now I'm older. Maybe overseas travel's not so good at this time anyway. So, yes, definitely Australia. Tasmania's beautiful. New Zealand. To go to New Zealand is amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? Majestic.
And I've painted on plein air there. in the freezing cold.
And you get out and get immersed completely, don't you, in the natural environment and the community, which is what I love about you too. You don't just go out and sit by the river or sit under a mountain or in the amongst the wilderness. You actually get to know the people, and you have a particular passion about portraits and
the people of the countries, yes.
Photographing
what they do.
people. Yeah.
People doing things. I think that's really good to have an insight into the now of what's happening with everyone and trying to portray that through your vision. Basically, as an artist, it's our vision, isn't it?
Yes.
It's unique in that sense.
And it captures time.
And
if you're a great artist, you can capture that. And when you look at a painting or a portrait, it just takes the person who's the viewer into that soul of that person, and that's what you do so incredibly well.
Yeah, a while back I did a painting of young people in Musée d'Orsay. No, it was Monet's museum. And all his beautiful paintings were around the walls. It was a circular building. And they're just not looking at the paintings, they're looking at their little gizmos.
Oh, no.
So I painted that. And that was before all the mobiles really came in to be very popular. It just kind of horrified me that they were there. They had the opportunity to see these wonderful paintings, but they weren't.
They'll disengage even back then.
Yeah, they had their earphones on, so they might have been listening to what was being said, but they were so busy with their phones. And I thought, how sad.
Yeah, absolutely.
That these were French people that were in Paris and not taking the right advantage of where they were, I suppose.
And all the beautiful water lilies and all the paintings that he did is incredible.
It was amazing. Those paintings just, talk to people.
Exactly.
But they weren't engaged.
So how do you drive that engagement? How do you inspire that engagement as an artist?
With my process of painting, I suppose, with the colour I use and the techniques that I used. I hope that people enjoy my paintings, really, when they look at them. Yeah. That's the purpose why I paint. It's not really about money for me. It's about the vision I see of I love people.
Yeah, exactly.
So to be able to portray that person in a painting is, I suppose, a gift that I can do that. But it's jolly hard work as well, of years and years of painting.
Absolutely.
I'm now 71, so that's a long time, isn't it?
It is, and plenty more decades to come.
67 years, 68 years
Yes,
of painting, when you think
absolutely.
about it. And I was always painting. As a child, my sister shared a room with me, and we separated the bedroom with a line, and I was the messy one, and I'd have bits of paper and stuff over my bed.
And collages and
everything. I was chopping things up with scissors, and Wendy was really neat in the corner.
Oh, of course.
She just hated this mess, so I wasn't allowed to go over that line.
And you literally put a line down in the middle of the bedroom.
A line in the bedroom.
That's classic. Mess is chaos can be really great though, can't it? All those colours and everything around you.
Probably. I'm still pretty messy, I think.
So is your life a bit of a pastel and a bit of a collage of colours?
It is. It's very colourful.
Because even just looking at you now, for those who are listening to this podcast, Pen's in this most vibrant, most beautiful top, and it's full of colours. So, and interestingly, it's all natural colours. It's all like you've got landscape and pictures of beautiful foliage and
foliage and flowers.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Pinks and
absolutely gorgeous.
Turquoise is my favourite colour, so that comes in all my paintings.
There you go. So what you say that painting is all about your heart and about your vision. Can you unpack that a bit more and tell us a bit more what it looks like through your eyes and how you feel and move with the painting?
It progresses when I paint. So it's the initial interest in a subject. So I look at it and I find shapes, and then I find the design. I usually do a little thumbnail. And then I put it up onto the board if it's a paper or if it's on canvas, draw it up, and then I start to produce the shapes. And basically it's like a jigsaw puzzle all fitting in to create the composition. And particularly with portraiture, I find I like to try and capture the person's personality. It's ideal if you can meet them, of course.
Exactly.
But even in a photo, you can... If you haven't met a person, you can bring a personality into that painting with colour and textures and, the process that you use, whatever medium.
And you do that so beautifully. Like you can almost weep at your photos and the paintings that you take from a photo. because it brings it so much more to life than even the photographer has as well. So it's quite incredible.
I try to do that because I don't believe in photorealism. That's not my thing. You may as well enlarge a photo if you're going to go that way. It's very talented. People can do it, but it's not something that I can actually want to do. It's got to be more painterly, so it's more from the heart.
So you paint with feeling as well. So when do you know if a piece is at its completion, or is it ever fully complete?
Some are, some aren't. You can come back a few years later perhaps and work on it, but usually when I finish a painting, it's finished and I won't go back to it. It's done.
It's behind you, yeah.
I've released it. There's so many in my head that I've got to paint.
And how do you release it? Because I know whenever you go to a gallery, there's all these little red, beautiful, wonderful dots saying sold. How does it feel sometimes? Do you feel sad sometimes, or you feel like it's an absolute gift to give it away and to pay it forward?
It's a gift to give it away, and for someone to actually part with their money to buy it, to put on the wall, that to me gives me great pleasure. I give a lot away as well. I mean, I've got a house full of paintings and a bit too much really. I just keep painting. I never stop really from producing things. Mostly now it's with teaching, the demonstrations I do. If I've got a purpose to paint for, I will do it, which is coming up this year, probably a lot of different purposes. But I've always got something in my hand to draw or
always got the artistic hands out and the mind going. So imagine anywhere you go, you'll see a landscape or a person and automatically start putting the shapes together on that board that you talked about.
Yeah,
it's fascinating.
So more so now with people doing things, I really like that. The actual activities that people spend their time.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, exactly. So what do you do? Because you run an amazing amount of workshops and lessons, and I know you do weekly lessons at home, and you go out to certain communities and actually engage in the communities. How do you get people who think that, I can't possibly paint? How do you get them engaged in that painting experience and that artistic development? How do you encourage them?
Well, generally start off with simple things for them to start with. If it's a beginner's course, you start with very simple shapes.
Yep.
If a pear or something very simple in shape, and explain how you actually can interpret that into a language. It's a language that we're working with painting.
Yeah, beautiful.
It's like any other, a lot of jobs have different languages.
Yeah.
Went to a physio the other day and they're talking in their language. I had no idea what they were talking about.
Exactly. I had the sound engineers earlier talking to each other and I had no idea what they were talking about.
So it's a language. So first of all, they have to learn those terminologies if they want to become a painter, because in books when they read them they've got to understand what's been said and how to interpret that. But mostly it's through demonstration, so they can see my approach and how I apply things to the painting. I get them to see how I hold my brush or my pastel. We talk about the papers we use and the surfaces, the products we use to create that painting. So a lot of it comes into that. I do always recommend with people to learn to draw first before they paint, because that's the actual key to painting. You might get away with painting for a certain while, but if you start to have to draw a house, you've got to know perspective.
Yes.
You've got to know tone, you've got to know all those kind of ways of producing a painting. So
there's some really clear steps on the technicalities.
Yeah.
What about the mindset and the feeling and the emotion? How does that sort of spiritual self or that whole person come into art?
I try to encourage that with my students because I don't want them to be clones of me, and nothing worse than have 10 million pens around.
Really fun.
My techniques are to show them processes, and then what they do with that particular understanding is their thing.
Their interpretation.
And I really encourage them to be their own self.
Yeah.
Because that's what painting's about. It's your own interpretation of what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Or your mind or whatever.
Yeah.
It's why it's used in a lot of medical fields. You know, people use
art therapy.
Very
popular. Yep.
And when you're in that process, you forget about time. You know, it's like meditation.
Yeah. Do you think everyone's able to be an artist? For those who are sitting back and listening, going, "Oh, I wish I had that talent, but I can never be."
Everybody can.
Yeah.
You look at preschoolers; they all paint beautifully. You watch what they do. It's when they go to school they get hung up with it because a teacher might try to instill something that their processes that are foreign to their thinking, or they make up this is the right way, that's the wrong way, and that starts to stop them wanting to
Explore
and
step outside their comfort zone or tap into their
I have many
artistic
students
talent.
that are older categories who have been told at school that they were no good as an artist. How awful is that?
Oh, it's terrible. And therefore they stop
They stopped.
in their tracks, yeah.
But because it was in them, they come back to it later in life
Yeah.
and they discover that they can do it.
Yes, and that's
is
exactly
good.
what you've done. You've
Yeah.
done it. You have not at all wavered off your path of being an artist, have you?
No.
All your life, since the age of 3, you knew that's what you were going to do every day.
But I was lucky. I was lucky to have a mother that was encouraging,
Yeah.
and she was a very dedicated artist in herself. She wasn't after any fame or anything. She just painted.
She modelled the way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. She was a commercial artist when she started off,
Yeah.
at the age
great.
of 12. In those days, they started work at
It's
12.
incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, and went to a special studio to learn lettering and all sorts of things, which she was
Yeah.
very good at.
Wow.
Yeah, but she said it
I
came
met your
against
mum.
her.
I had the privilege of meeting
Yeah.
her. She was the most beautiful woman.
Lovely, yeah.
And still doing art right up to her later years.
Later years,
Incredible. And fine, as you said, all the lettering, the fine tips
beautiful
of
writing.
Oh,
Yes,
incredible.
but she said it came against her because in commercial art you're so detailed, and she never wanted to be detailed. So she encouraged me to go to art school,
Yeah.
which I was fortunate to be able to do.
For those who haven't got a parent who's artistic, what would you suggest as a way forward? Because you said earlier that you've had the benefits of having your mum and your dad support you, but you've also had these opportunities where the doors have opened. So what sort of doors have opened for you that could open for others?
Well, if you're really dedicated to art, just keep drawing. I would say if you're a parent of a child that wants to paint, just give them materials. Don't bother about lessons. Yeah, there's a lot of parents want their children to be taught. I don't believe in that because that makes them a clone of that teacher.
Yep.
Stops their creative process. Just give them the tools of paper and pencils. To start off with colour pencils, a bit of paint,
Yep.
charcoal, anything like that they can scribble
Mud and a
with.
stick.
Yes, scribbling, all sorts of things. Supply them with heaps of paper is what I suggest.
Yeah.
And then they will find their way. And hopefully in school they'll have teachers that will encourage them. If they don't have that, if they're really wanting to be an artist, they will become the artist in some form. It doesn't have to be a painter. You can be a sculptor,
Yes, exactly.
musician, it's
could be a
creative.
dancer or an art, yeah.
Anything
theatre.
that you want to do, you can actually set your mind at. Money becomes an issue with people, which is really sad because a lot of places you've got to go to, you've got to spend money for to go to. But if you're at school, you can get scholarships. I got a scholarship to go to art school.
Yeah. Yep.
And I couldn't have gone otherwise. Our family was poor, so we wouldn't have been able to afford it.
Yep.
So don't let things stop you, is what I say.
And look outside. If you can't do it this way, there must be another
There's
way.
another way. There's always another way in.
Yeah. And that's
to,
it. If you have the
study.
dream and the vision and you know what your purpose is, you will always find another way. Always.
And find other people that are artists. I suggest that.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. You don't need to
Painting
go to a
groups.
college to learn how to be a
No.
great artist. Get the right mentor around you and the right environment, you're fine.
They have the third one, university now, isn't it, or
Yes,
something?
third age university,
Yes.
that's right.
So you can go to those kind of lessons to find out if you've
Yeah.
got an aptitude.
If you want to get back into art after all those decades of ignoring that and suppressing that artistic urge.
Yeah, there's art societies to belong to. They're good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't like the idea of just on the internet all the time, these Zoom things or
The online
YouTube
training and
things and-
masterclasses and things.
yeah, I'm not really into that because I think it's more hands-on. You know, with teaching, teachers should be there to see how you're doing it.
Yep.
You know, even holding a brush, you might be holding it in a way that's not really
Completely.
manageable.
Yeah. Or that would lead to arthritis and all sorts of other ailments too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what's been the most extraordinary stories that you would love to share? Like, there must be some amazing ones. You've travelled the world. You've travelled nearly all Australia except for the centre part, which is to come. That might be our next episode with Ken.
To come, yes.
Yeah.
And Northern Territory I haven't been to yet.
And Northern Territory, there you go.
Yeah, the other states
But
I have been.
you have done some amazing exploring and been in some beautiful countries and wilderness.
Yes.
Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, we've been to, like, New Zealand. I would suggest New Zealand.
It's like, eye-opening. For those who can't see, Penelope, her eyes are just like burst open.
The landscape, it's like Europe, a little Europe.
Yeah.
They've got the snow on the mountains and,
Yeah.
you know, it's just lovely water and fjords and glaciers and you name it, they've got
heaven.
it. It's heaven.
Every corner is a heaven.
Yeah. Tasmania. You've been to Tasmania.
Yep.
That's magical. It's easy for driving around. You can get yourself around really perfectly. The national parks are amazing.
Oh, aren't they?
Yeah. In America, I love America.
Yes.
You drop of a hat, I'll go to America. Canada.
Yeah.
Canada was amazing. To go on that, we went on the Rocky. What's it called? The Rocky.
The Rocky Passage. Was it the
railway,
train or
train.
Railway? Yes. I know what you mean.
You know what I mean.
From BC to Banff or across from west to east or whatever.
We went from west to east, and I can't remember where we started off now. Isn't that terrible? It's a few years ago. Banff was beautiful, and seeing the wildlife. To me, travelling is about seeing the wildlife, seeing the landscape. Eating their foods.
Yeah.
That's lovely.
Getting
Meeting the people. Just walking the streets and talking to people is what I do.
Yeah.
And you have some amazing conversations. You have people telling you how to paint, in Turkey. I was painting the Blue Mosque, and this lovely old man sitting next to me was telling me how to paint it.
I love it. And the
a
conversations you must have. I mean, you must have so many people come up to you while you're painting, because you often do find.
You
do find Penelope out in the paddock on the side of the road with her art easel out and you know painting the little sheep in the paddock.
And they're the treasure
have a lot of
things.
conversations.
Yeah. I mean, there's things you've got to look out for when you're in Australia painting. I mean, there's electric wires on the you can get electrocuted. A friend of mine was electrocuted.
No way.
Looking at the view, and she was pushed right back onto the road.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, so you've got to be aware of those kind of things.
Yeah, the risks of art, being your artistic dream. The
artistic things and snakes and spiders and things like that in Australia.
There's one picture, whenever I'm sitting here talking to you, and I'm just picturing this one portrait that I remember. It's you sitting in it's a self-portrait of you, but of you looking at you in a paddock.
Yes.
Was it a little dog or a sheep?
It's a sheep.
Oh, the most exquisite.
That was funny. That was at Stanthorpe.
Right.
And I set myself up to do the landscape. The sheep were over under the tree. And, of course, people come plodding along behind you and scare the sheep, so that's gone.
Yeah.
Damn! So you've got to put them in as a memory, which I did. But this sheep came along and just stood there. It was a young sheep, and I think it was sick and had been put in this paddock on its own.
Ah.
So it stood there 15 minutes, just staring at me.
Just watching you going,
because I was in its way.
Oh.
Yeah, they follow a track.
Yeah.
And the track was where I had parked myself. So it took it 15 minutes.
It literally stood there going, come on, silly woman, get out of the way. What are you doing?
I was just laughing. I just thought, I'm waiting to see what happens. And eventually it worked its way around behind me and then went the way it wanted to go.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Hilarious, yeah. So you have
and there it is,
captured
in your painting.
So I used a friend's photo for that because she took a picture of it when it was happening.
Oh, classic.
So I asked permission and I used that. And then it got a prize in the Ekka.
You did. Now, if anyone does go to the Ecca being the Brisbane Extraordinary Agricultural Show, I'm not even sure what Ecca stands for anymore, excuse my ignorance, but exhibition KKA, and don't know what the KKA stands for.
It's when the country comes to the city.
Yeah, exactly. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And you'll always find Penelope's work up there, and it's always with a blue ribbon. She always displays it. Has there been a year that you've missed?
Oh, there has been.
There has, but very few.
Quite a few. No, quite a few.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because whenever we go there, we always go straight up to the art hall and look out for Penelope's portraits or landscapes. They're absolutely fantastic.
No, I've been fortunate to be chosen. I mean, you have 1,000 painters exhibiting, and you know that's a big field of
sure is
pretty
great
good
talent.
Art, and everyone's trying their hardest to get those prizes. You know, so you're just lucky if you win. If the judges happen to like what you do, really.
Yeah.
I would say to people, don't take it to heart if you don't win prizes. It doesn't mean you're a great artist, put it that way.
Yes, exactly. And doesn't mean you're a poor artist.
No, it's just
against the interpretation of the judge, isn't it? Yeah.
And if you might win in that particular time, you put in another show, you might win. Different set of judges, different
circumstances, different political environment, different environment. Yeah.
So you can't take things to heart if you don't ever get a recognition that way.
Yeah.
I think the best prize is if someone buys your work,
Yeah. Or appreciates your work, surely,
yes,
as well.
and appreciates as well, but more so if they buy it and take it away, because it makes room for another one.
It makes room for another one. Yeah, exactly. You haven't got much space in your house. I've seen it. Like, you can't even hardly sit down with all the paintings leaning on chairs and on the walls. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
So your messiness has now flowed through to the house.
It does. I try to be tidy. I mean, I'm very tidy when I paint.
Oh, you are. You are.
I have a certain
you've got a tidy
system.
house. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you made a system, so when you are tidy now in your artist's
Oh, yeah.
workshop? Yeah.
Yes. My studio has to be tidy. I can't work in a messy studio.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So if you're knowing that these podcasts are all about, women inspiring legendary dreams, that's certainly what you do for any artist out there. But it's more than that, isn't it? It's about following your vision, believing in yourself, and just following your path, because that's what you've done all your life.
Yeah.
You've never ventured to be somebody's employee or dabbled in another.
Well, I had
kind
to
of
after
industry.
art school, would you believe?
You did? Wow.
Yes. I had to find a job. I mean, had to be in the real world. And of course, you had no experience, so they don't want you. The same thing happens every generation.
Yep.
So I did try for cartooning, and they said I was too wooden.
Wow.
Didn't really give me a chance. So I then ended up doing scales. You know the scales that are on machines that are 0, 5, 10, 15 divisioned scales? You know, little dial comes along.
You mean, yes, exactly, yes. You used to do those.
So I had to, with my Letraset pen, I put Letraset numbers on.
Yep.
Really talented to do this.
Yeah.
And then divide the sections between 5 to 10 in divisions so that they went bigger as they went bigger, like the spaces.
Okay. Wow.
Just on
That's random. What a random job.
Yeah, I suffered it for 5-6 months, I think it was.
Oh, yeah.
And I couldn't do it anymore. I thought, lovely people, really nice people that were working there. But I just thought, no, this is not for me. So I left and I painted for an exhibition.
Oh, fantastic.
And then that exhibition was to be in a gallery which went bust, so I had to sell them at home. I had an exhibition at home, sold them all, and then with that money went to Papua New Guinea.
Oh, wow.
My vision was to go to Papua New Guinea, have an exhibition, and then go to Europe.
Yes, and so now I want to talk about Papua New Guinea because you said before the show started that you had a fantastic experience there.
Yep.
Tell me a bit more about...
I wouldn't do that now.
I know, but you have to share it because people will appreciate it. It is time. It's based on a period of time. And things you wouldn't do
early
now,
70s. And so I went up there. My sister was living there in Moresby, Port Moresby. So I went to stay with her and her husband at the time, and then we went up to the Mount Hagen show. And that's a show where all the different tribes come in dressed in their regalia, beautiful headdresses, and they jump up and down and they sing. And
fantastic.
It's just an amazing, spectacular thing to view.
Yeah.
And that's where I met Clive, my husband. So I didn't go to Europe, did I? But what happened was when I did meet him, he tried his hardest to be interested in me, but I wasn't interested.
You weren't interested. I'm here to do art.
I was here to do art.
Yeah.
And so I just left a lot of my gear there, and I just went on the back of PMVs and went out to places like Mendi, flew into Tari, which is like single-engine aeroplanes, and you can see the side of the
the wings.
The wings could almost hit the mountains. It was so incredible. Yeah, so the pilot that flew me in, the next day he crashed.
Oh, no.
And everyone was saved. He walked them back to Mendi, but I thought, I heard about it and I didn't want him to pick me up and take me out again. It was a bit hairy. So I witnessed weddings, funerals.
Incredible.
I had names of some nurses that were at the Catholic missions. I'm not that religion, but they still allowed me to come in to stay with them. Very nice.
Open communities, yeah.
And so I had to hop on the back of their PMVs and go out to the remote areas. And while they were vaccinating the children, I'd be over further looking at the mountains and drawing.
Incredible.
And the people would always gather around me and watch what I was doing. So it was really interesting.
Yeah.
So I had access to some amazing experiences that really I think back on and I think, wow, that's something, because a lot of people don't have that experience. No. And in those days, it was before independence, it was a lot safer.
But you still were so courageous to go and do that on your own as a young woman.
Yes.
Very
And just names. I
adventurous.
had names of people to look up.
Yeah.
I didn't know these people.
Hop on a plane and find them.
Yes.
In the middle of Papua New Guinea and then
Yeah.
travel to villages.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So when I got back to Mount Hagen, I'd already had been in Moresby and painted Michael Samari and a few of the speakers of the house, and I had plans to paint all the speakers, but living in Mount Hagen, I couldn't do it.
Right.
Because you had to live in Port Moresby to have access.
To be invited.
Well, I could have been invited if I'd pushed it, but I got diverted. I always get diverted.
Do something else.
Do something else.
Yep.
So I stayed in Mount Hagen, and Clive gave me a studio to work in. I mean, that's pretty good.
Well, he
isn't it?
really was keen on you, wasn't he?
He was.
Yeah.
So.
I know how to get this one closer.
Yeah. So I met also a man called Ivor Manton who became my patron. So I've had a patron in my life, which I've been very fortunate. He, a beautiful old man who started the tea industry in Mount Hagen.
Oh, incredible.
He'd been a millionaire a few times. The Mantons were involved in art always, his brothers. And he used to come every day with his gardenias to give to me and talk art while I painted.
Oh, how magic.
And so he organised my exhibitions there, which was
Wow.
amazing. Yeah.
There's one of those doorways you talk about.
Yeah.
Incredible.
I've still got the easel that he had made for me, so it's a very special easel. So
What an experience.
amazing experience, and a lovely old man. Just
You'll carry him to your grave.
yes, a very special time. And the family, his family, and because they were all into the tea plantations up there. So it was a different kind of life. You know, Papua New Guinea was a bit colonial, I suppose.
Well, absolutely, and that's how it was in the time.
Yeah.
And now you're passing the flame, and in many ways you're mentoring so many others now.
Yes, I try to.
And you've got many more
Encourage.
decades to share that knowledge and
Yes.
impart
Well, hope so.
those skills. Oh,
Still feel
absolutely.
as
I
though-
hope so too. Touch
I still
wood.
feel as though, touch wood, we're
We'll
winners.
touch something around us.
Well, superstitious us. Yeah. I don't plan on leaving the planet yet.
No, thank you. No, thank you. That'd be horrible.
Yeah.
So on parting words, I guess, we're here to talk about and to share at least one thing. It could be many things. But imparting some of your wisdom and your knowledge and a key message to women of all ages and people who identify as non-binary or even young women, anyone who's listening to this podcast or watching this on YouTube. I'd love you to share a key message that you have that has always led you along your journey and through your vision and your art.
Just follow your dreams. Really don't let things, I mean, you get diverted, you do things. I mean, I diverted and had family and whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful to have the family that I've got, and it added to my gift, I think, by having family.
Yep.
Some people are very focused and that's all they do. They don't deviate at all. But just follow your dream and believe in yourself, really, that you are going to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Today, more than any time, we are able to do anything. How lucky.
I know, aren't we? Yep.
You know, when you think about the past and the women of the early 1900s, they weren't able to do what we do.
No.
They had
were
to
fighting
fight.
against a bias all the time, and here we are.
They had to
with
fight
such
for
an
the
open
voting.
mind.
You know, they had to fight for following their dream at all. There were a few women artists that did do it, but they might have been coming from wealthier families.
Wealthier families, that's right.
Some weren't, that just continued through. You could name a few, I won't name them, but of the 1900s. And they were very focused. I think you've just got to have that focus.
Yeah. And as you say, believe in
Believe
yourself.
in yourself.
That you can do this.
And get out there and meet people, because the people are the answer. It's the connection, networking.
Yep.
I believe in that.
It gives you the drive too, doesn't it? When you meet the right people, it gives you that momentum and
It
that
does.
energy to drive even more into your
does.
purpose. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
And you'll always find support. You just got to
You
go out
do.
and look out for it.
That's right.
And welcome it also.
Yes.
Yeah, attract it and welcome
Yeah,
it.
don't be a hermit, I say.
Yes, exactly. Says the artist. A lot of artists are very introverted. How would you describe yourself?
I'm
Pam?
introverted.
Yep.
I've had to become extroverted for teaching purposes.
Yep.
I mean, I can remember a time when I was a child at school, and this is a funny thing. My time on a stage, I mean, as an actor.
Yep.
But I was like the prop. And I had to I made this crow out of stocking, black stockings.
Yeah.
And I made this very realistic crow. And I hid it behind my back, and I had to wait for the lines, and I shot the crow. And I'm just dazing off into the
La La Land.
and I missed the cue. And I didn't throw the crow. And I had to say it 3 times before I
really?
Oh, whoops, and then I threw it. So that was my one and only time on the stage, really.
That is classic. The whole crowd's waiting like, the crow. Anyone want to give Penelope over there in the corner a bit of a nudge?
I was always off with the fairies.
Oh, that's classic. That's gold.
Yeah.
Well, you're certainly not off with the fairy when it comes to your art. It's absolutely exquisite and very poignant and to the detail.
Thank you.
Yeah. Penelope, it's been a pleasure to have you on the Wild and Fearless podcast. You definitely are a wild and fearless woman. There's no doubt about it.
Well, I hadn't realised that, but perhaps I was when I was younger.
Oh, you still are?
Am I still? Okay.
You still are, absolutely. And I'm just really hoping that those who are listening and watching, that you are inspired to go out and follow your dream. You are inspired if you are artistic, and you know if you are, and we all are.
Yeah.
But if you want to follow that dream of being even more of an artist, get out there and pick up your pastels, pick up your paintbrushes, pick up your charcoal, pick up your clay, whatever it is that inspires you, and get out there and do it.
Yes, definitely.
So Penelope, before we go to, this is always about collaboration, and I really would love you to give an opportunity to share your workshops and how people may be able to get in contact with you.
Well, just my name, Penelope Gilbert-Ng.
Yep.
That should come up on the internet, and I have a web page on my Instagram as well, and Facebook. I suppose that's the ways.
Yep.
I've learned now with my business card, I've got that little, the little thing that you...
Oh, yes, a little patchy thing that I don't know what they call it.
QR code.
Come on, tell QR code. Yep,
yes,
that's it.
I've got that now. So
you trendy you.
I know.
You're right there.
I'm
yeah.
really... I should show you my card. I will.
Oh,
yes.
I bet it's beautiful. I bet it's full of colour.
Yes, my paintings.
Yep, exactly.
So when we were at college, we didn't have any kind of understanding about how to promote yourself. And that's a failing, I think, with the schools. I think the schools today do that.
They certainly do a lot more through TAFE and courses, industry courses. It's always got a business element, which is really great.
There should be a business element.
Absolutely.
Because you can't really do anything without a business sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But as you say, it's about networking with the right people, and as a collaborative force, it's there's no stopping it.
No,
not at all.
Wonderful,
Penelope. Well, thank you again for a lovely session.
Thank you.
And a lovely podcast. And I'm sure for all those who are listening are going to say, "Oh, what a beautiful soul!" And they'll be melting just with your tone of your voice. And they'll be going out there and searching. Oh no, you've got a beautiful tone. I love it. And they'll be definitely going out there and looking up Penelope Gilbert-Ng. And you're a fantastic artist. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you.
All right, so Penelope, we were talking earlier about how people can get in touch with you, and something that you just brought up, which is really fascinating. I'd love you to share with everyone, because it's a really great recognition of your work that you've done, but also a really great resource for people to tap into.
Right. So I've done an episode with Colouring Your Life with Graham Stevenson, and that was plein air painting at Bulimba Creek, which is a local creek where I live at Runcorn, and it's quite a nice episode that he's actually filmed of myself with him.
Yeah, it's lovely. And you can find that on your website too,
on my website, it's on there, yes.
Yeah, so definitely encourage.
So you can always go into Colouring Your Life and put my name in, and you'll find the YouTube that's been done for me by them.
Fantastic, fantastic. So you're out there, you're so trendy. You're on YouTube, you've got a
I try everything.
Scan code, you've got everything. Social media galore, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Just tap in Penelope Gilbert-Ng and you'll find her. Or Artist Extraordinaire.
I don't know whether you can follow with that. Yeah. Well, you've got to have many hats when you're an artist. You've got to be good at your trade.
Yep.
You've got to be able to teach. You've got to write a book. That's yet to be done. Mm-hmm. You've got to...
we can help you with that. That'll be lovely. We'd love to get you in a chapter in a book, Wild and Fearless chapter.
Oh, that'd be lovely.
Be fantastic.
I'd love to do that. I'd like to do... Yeah, anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so we do it. Yeah, we digress.
Good.
Yeah.
And we'll do podcasts now.
Yes, tick.
There was another thing. Videos, which I've done that.
Yes.
Videos. And teach.
Fantastic.
So there's a lot of, that's about 6 things already that
There
on my
is.
hand.
And be a businesswoman.
And be a businesswoman, which I'm not
Yeah.
really good at. I must say that the business side of my business, because I'm not interested in it. I find it difficult.
Yeah.
And I put it aside for later.
But it comes to you anyway, doesn't it? You sell things and it comes to you.
It does, and I get commissions. I've got 2 at
Yeah.
the moment, so, commissions come.
Yep. So even though you don't feel like you're a businesswoman, you are in many senses. You just do it a different style. You're not there
different.
promoting yourself. And business, I think successful business people don't need to be out there selling.
No.
It just comes to them because they attract. It's a law
They
of
attract
attraction,
it.
and they attract the
Another thing,
right people.
build
you
your
know?
website.
Oh, yes.
So I've done that.
You've done that, yeah.
Yes. So there's
Yeah.
a whole lot of things you've got to do now. I don't think you should have any regrets, but I do have one.
Okay.
And that at high school there was a non-examinable subject of typing. And we had the little thing over our hands and you had to do the quick brown fox done over the
Yes,
laser.
I remember back in my day I had to do it too.
And I thought, who wants to be a secretary? Mm-hmm. And I just didn't want to do it.
Yep.
My biggest regret is knowing how to type.
Speed typing. I know. And how many words have we pumped out on that computer?
I do 2-finger stuff because I don't know how to type.
Yep.
And that is probably my biggest regret in life.
I relate to that actually.
Yeah, because I just thought, because in our day you were either a secretary, a teacher, a nurse,
At home mother.
a teacher, or a mother at
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
There was not many occupations a woman could really push herself into. And I had my fixation.
Retail,
I wanted and retail.
Yeah.
I had my fixation. I wanted to be an artist. And it was interesting when I left college. The head of the college wrote this letter. I've still got it somewhere at home, and said, "I have no hesitation in recommending Penelope in a teaching position." And I read that and I thought, what?
I don't want to be a teacher.
Who wants to be a teacher?
And yet here you are inspiring so many others and being a mentor.
And I love
and
it.
a teacher.
So he saw in me that I
Yeah.
could be a teacher. I was very shy. I was nervous.
Couldn't see yourself being in
couldn't
front of a
see
room.
myself. Yeah.
But being in front of a room, teaching the skills and the talents that you have is a different
You know how I
environment.
learned?
How?
Selling Tupperware.
Really? There you go. Well, that would definitely step you out of your comfort zone.
It really did. I had to sell it.
Yeah.
Stand up there in front of people and say what a wonderful product it was.
And it is.
And it is.
Yeah.
It was. I mean,
Yeah.
and when I sold up in Papua New Guinea, and then when I came down here, I thought I'll sell it here too, and I'll learn how to get around Brisbane.
Yeah.
So that's how I learned how to get around Brisbane. Parts
That's
of Brisbane,
amazing.
anyway.
There you go. And there's a big plug for Tupperware. So if Tupperware wants to sponsor this program, it's no problem at all.
But the things you
too
do, I mean, when
funny.
you think about what you do in your life and, to make ends meet as well, I wanted Tupperware, so by selling it you could
Yeah,
buy it cheaper. And
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, I guess that's a wrap for us, Penelope. I think we've got
Okay.
2 episodes out of this wonderful one podcast. So
Okay.
thank you again. And, have a lovely evening. And thanks for joining
Thank
us, the
you.
Wild and Fearless
Well,
Women.
that's-
What a
Now,
great
I see
community to be
myself
part of.
differently now.
Oh, you are. You are. Hi, legends. I hope you really enjoyed today's podcast, just like we enjoyed bringing it to you. It takes a momentous team behind the scenes to actually get this done, and we'd love to hear your reviews and your comments, and also your shout-outs to our wonderful interviewees. Subscribe and share and like what we do, and that gives all of us encouragement to keep on doing what we're doing. I want you to get out there, be wild and fearless yourself, get out to adventure, get into nature, and be your best version of you. Okay, take care.